So, you gotta love all of these Republicans who now they want to talk big and bad about Donald Trump. And who's really running his mouth more than anybody else is, Lord have mercy, Christie. Man, we all remember how Trump just punked him. In 2016. And so he just got punked. Y'all need to be advancing that video. It should be starting with him, not Whoopi. He got totally punked. So he's in New Hampshire, y'all, talking big and bad. Talking big and bad. Watch this.
To go, I am your retribution. Guess what, everybody? No thanks. He doesn't want to be my retribution. That's baloney. The only person he cares about is him. You better have somebody on that stage who can do to him what I did to Marco. Because that's the only thing that's going to defeat Donald Trump. And that means you got to have the skill to do it. And that means you have to be fearless, because he will come back and right at you.
What did he do to Marco?
It's like a horror movie.
Okay, that was a response on The View today, y'all. So, now, what is he talking about? Now, Trump utterly embarrassed Christie. I mean, constantly. In fact, he punked him after the election, when Jared got him fired as head of the transition team. He kept punking him. Hell, Trump gave that fool COVID and he had to go into the hospital. Now, Christie, really? Now you think you could take on Trump? You couldn't even handle me in September 2021 on ABC This Week.
Governor, but the reality is this. You have to admit, Sarah, you have to admit the role that you played in putting the person in leadership who is driving conspiracy theories. It's one thing to condemn them after the fact, but you have to own up to the role that you played in putting the person in power. The time
we both ran campaigns against
No. Let me finish.
First off, I don't have to admit, First off, I don't have to admit anything to you.
Can I finish?
First off, I don't have to admit to you. And second, I ran against Donald Trump in 2016.
You also coached him for the debate, sir.
You ran against, here's the deal, you ran against him. But when a person has principles, morals, and values, they do not support them even if you lose. And what they say is, I choose patriotism and the country over party and power. And the problem was too many Republicans chose power in riding with Donald Trump as opposed to patriotism in America.
I'll sleep fine tonight with you judging my morals.
Well, guess what? As a voter, voter who has 13 nieces and nephews, what I also want to see in America are Republicans and Democrats who have the guts to stand up to narcissists, to folks who lie, to folks who sit here and lead a country in the wrong direction. And what that man has unleashed on this country, any Republican who stood with him has to own it and accept the role that they played.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'll accept the role that I played in the 2016 election running against him, and I'll accept the role...
Let him finish his point now. Let him finish his point.
And I'll accept the role that I played in my belief that Hillary Clinton was not the right person to be president. We all get to make choices, Roland, in this democracy. I made my choice. I'm on record of my choice, and I'm not walking away from my choice. But it does not preclude me from being able to be critical when the person that I did support does things that I am against. And so this false choice that you're trying to set up,
is that false?
It's a false choice, and one that the American people are not going to buy either.
Roland, let me just press one other point. Right now, I would argue that the fact that so many Americans can't buy into simple facts is probably the biggest existential threat we face to our democracy. So when somebody speaks up for that, isn't it something to be praised?
Facts are critically important. But again, when you support someone who said fake news, who when you were truthful and then push that, then when you have the networks and the conservative radio talk show hosts, that whole echo chamber driving that's the problem. I am a native of Texas who is still registered there, and I am dealing with Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick, who is consistently lying and making things up, and you're dealing with that. I'm dealing with people who are changing textbooks, well, here's the deal. I have a very basic principle since I've been a journalist. If you do good, I'll talk about you. If you do bad, I'll talk about you. At the end of the day, I'll talk about you. And somebody has to say what others are afraid to say.
Sarah, you get the last word.
If you want to persuade the half the country that voted for Donald Trump in 2016 to move to your side, then you've got to stop villainizing them. You've got to stop having these conversations where everyone who is not with you is against you. And when someone says that Donald Trump did something wrong, you may want to consider praising that and trying to use that to persuade the people who are not going to be persuaded by what
that is going to have to be the last word. This debate could obviously continue. I'm sure it will in coming weeks.
Lord, Christie was so upset you thought I took his Krispy Kreme donut. He went complained to the ABC people. Oh, I felt he was complaining, said I got ambushed. He complained more than Umar Johnson did. It was dumb. No, Sarah, I'm not going to credit you for waking up when Christie supported his reelection. He wanted him reelected. Let's go to my panel. I'm laughing at these people because they can't be taken seriously at all. At all, about anything. All right, Rebecca Carruthers, she joins us on our panel. Glad to have you here, Rebecca. She, of course, is Vice President, Fair Election Center. Robert Patillo hosts People, Passion, Politics, News and Talk, 1380 WAOK in Atlanta. Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney. I mean, here's the thing why I laugh at Robert. Christie is going to wilt like a wet noodle under the vicious assault of Donald Trump. He did it before, and he'll do it again.
Look, Christie can't stand up to, as you said, Jared Kushner. I don't think this is a serious campaign or serious candidacy because what exactly has Christie done since he left the governor's mansion in New Jersey? What exactly new credentials does he have to justify him being the president in 2024 or going forward? What support does he have? Who's going to bankroll or finance that campaign? He is yesterday's news in American politics, and Americans don't look backwards, they look forwards. And even looking backwards, he represents a Republican Party that no longer exists. The Republican Party that he's part of, that he is wants to appeal to, that is the party of John Boehner and Paul Ryan. That's the party of Mitt Romney. And a bygone era, those people are called rhinos now. Marjorie Taylor Greene runs this party now. Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Donald Trump. That is the MAGA party that is energizing the base. And Christie, he used to be seen as kind of a moderate voice in American politics, but now he's seen as being simply wishy-washy, going along with whoever is in charge. One day you're meeting with Obama because of Hurricane Sandy. The next day you're following around Donald Trump like a lost puppy. He has no political waters going forward. And I think it'll be, if he does announce, it'll be comical how quickly he falls out of the race.
The problem here, Rebecca, is they don't want to say it like it is. They don't want to call him a liar. They don't want to say he's a fraud. In fact, maybe if they go back and replay their comments when they ran in 2015 and call it that now, they might have some credibility.
Well, here's the issue here is that Christie isn't showing leadership. Quite frankly, going after Marco Rubio at this point is punching down, is not punching up. Marco Rubio is not the standard bearer for the Republican Party. He's not going to see the inside of the Oval Office unless he has a visitor badge on. Like, he's not going to be president. So to go after Marco Rubio instead of the now front runners to run for president on the Republican side in 2024, like Governor DeSantis and former President Donald Trump, it simply doesn't make sense. And even for him wanting to have brownie points because he spoke truth to power in that moment when he was very critical of the type of president that Donald Trump was going to be. And then turns out that he was the type of president that like Christie attacked or forecasted for Trump to be. It simply doesn't make sense. So the other thing about Chris Christie is that in 2016, he didn't appeal to Republicans in the presidential primary. I really don't see what the difference is between 2016 and 2024. And I don't understand why he's punching down. He should go take the fight to Trump because Trump is the standard bearer for the party right now.
See, the thing here, Joe, is they're gutless. They're gutless. And the thing that I'm laughing about, I mean, and I really am, is because they're scared of his followers. They're scared. And they're not going to sit here and challenge him. They're not going to call him a liar. You know why? Because it's going to be a little hard to say, oh, he's a liar. Oh, but I supported that liar. I stood with that liar. I mean, you got Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, talking about he running. What he gonna say when he praised the liar? They defended the liar. They voted not to impeach the liar. They have no credibility, Joe.
That's right. I mean, when it comes down to it, here's what they should have done. A bunch of them should have got together and said, look, we're going to get rid of him right now. And the people are upset. His base will be upset for a minute, but they'll come back around when he's not on the ballot. They should have decided, somebody should have snitched him out, dined him out a long time ago, got rid of him and let that be that. Chris Christie, when he won re-election for governor, he had something going. He was, to a lot of people, the potential front runner for president because he was doing it a little bit different than a lot of the Republicans were. I agree with Robert that he is now part of a bygone era. And if you sit and talk about what your, what you did to Marco Rubio, it's like, oh, okay, oh, you and one of the other of the 11 or 12 footnotes in the Republican 2016 race. He was a prosecutor. He put Jared Kushner's daddy in jail. Why is he scared of Jared Kushner? He blew his brand. He had a brand. He had the right brand. He was going down the right street, and he blew it. You know what I mean? So you don't get to come back around for that. You know what I mean? And so now the idea that he's going to say or do something that's going to actually make him relevant against Trump in this party, in this era, in this day, really is quite laughable. But what's worse about it is it's one thing if it's somebody that was never consequential trying to say it. But here's somebody that actually at one point was consequential. I didn't necessarily agree with anything he said, of course. But for that party and for what he seemed to be trying to do, I'm like, oh, okay, he might be formidable. But those days are long past, and it is because of how wishy-washy he is. At the end of the day, somebody's got to take their stand where if you disagree with them, Liz Cheney, you can disagree with her all day, but she takes her stands and she keeps her guards up on her stands regardless of what it costs her. That's where the Republicans need to be. And the fact of the matter is, none of them have that kind of heart, and Chris Christie certainly doesn't have that kind of heart.
The reality is, folks, they're going to fall in line. And I'm just going to sit here and just enjoy all they do. I'm just going to enjoy to see them dance around the subject, to see them sit here and be unwilling to challenge, because that's what they are. They're not going to say anything about January 6th because they defended it. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to say anything about his constant lying because they defended it. They're not going to say anything about his behavior because they actually sucked up to it. In fact, remember, I'm just going to play this for y'all before I go to the break. I just want y'all to remember a time when Lindsey Graham actually had some credibility, when he wasn't a Trump sycophant, when he wasn't so, and again, so focused on power that he actually had some credibility. You ready for this? Give me 1 second, because I really, because I find this fascinating, y'all. I find it fascinating when I listen to these fools. Oh, go ahead and take it from here. Let's see.
The only way we lose this election is to nominate somebody that cannot grow the party's vote among minorities, young women, and the coalitions we need to win. If you nominate Trump and Cruz, I think you get the same outcome. You know, whether it's death by being shot or poisoning, does it really matter? I don't think the outcome will be substantially different. Here's my take. Dishonest, which is Hillary Clinton in the eyes of the American people, beats crazy. I think Donald Trump's domestic and foreign policy is gibberish. I think Ted Cruz has a reputation of being ideological to a fault, and that when it comes to problem solving, he will have a very difficult time proving that he is a problem solver. When it comes to the immigration issue, he has doubled down on a line of attack that's hurt us with Hispanics. I think he would be easy prey to basically stereotype as being too rigid to be president. I think that his no exceptions for rape and incest will be a tough sell with young women. I'm proudly pro-life, but most pro-life people have an exception for rape and incest. He does not. So that entire package of Trump and Cruz, in my view, would make it possible for her, if she's the nominee, or Bernie, to win an election they should lose. And if you take those two off the table, dishonest loses to normal. So let's just pick somebody out of the phone book if we have to. We can win this election unless we lose it. And I think Bob Dole's concerns about Ted Cruz I share. I don't know to the extent of the loss, but I just really do believe that he would be easily he'd be easily portrayed as somebody not ready to be president of the United States, not having the temperament, the judgment. And what has he done as a senator? He's best known for running down the Republican Party, not building up the country.
Well, that's what Graham said then. And then what did he do for 4 years? Kiss Trump's ass. What did I say? They chose power over party, patriotism, morals, values, principles, and ethics. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.